quick battle ladder replay on the MP Crossroads map today. I am taking the Lizardmen, led by Croc-Gar. The last defender, I am playing Mercurial, who is taking the Norskins, led by Wolfreak. I am playing the dreaded Dino box. So we'll come back to my army in a second. We'll go through Mercurial's army. So in the front line, mix of Marauders and Marauder Champions. So Marauder Champions, pretty tanky unit, pretty durable. Obviously, great melee defense, decent armor. Or 80 armor in relation to the Norsca roster is certainly very, very good. Just hold the line. They're pretty tough to kill, pretty tough to shift. The Ice-Horn Marauders, obviously, with their perfect vigor, I believe. 4 units of Javelins, good pick against the Dinos because a lot of their power is wrapped up in large single entities. 2 units of Skin Wolves, a Norscan Ice Wolf, as well as the Beast of Tashnar ROR with their anti-large. For his hero core, he's taken a Metal Mage with Final Transmutation and Plague of Rust. Also looks to have, I think it's the Shielding Scroll. Wolfreak up on the Mammoth, just an absolute powerhouse, massive amounts of weapon strength and all of that. Obviously with Hunter of Champions and the Seafang ability, which is actually going to be pretty decent for cutting through me, given I'm fairly stationary. So over here, I mean, this is a pretty dirty build, but I wanted to see, sort of put my own little spin on it, I guess, with 3 units of Temple Guards out the front, Star Chamber Guardians. Obviously Temple Guard, similarly, they just hold and hold. Great leadership, great defensive stats, and a little bit of anti-large and armor piercing as well. The Legion of Shakwa with their missile resistance buff, the Cohort of Sotek, 2 units of the Solar Engine Bastillodon, as well as just a regular Stego. I wanted, obviously it's got its ballista, so it can sit stationary and fire into things like Skin Wolves, or in this case Wolfreak, on the approach. I've got a Skink Priest of Beasts with Amber Spear, again for sniping large targets, and also the Manticore Summon. And I've taken Croc-Gar on a cold one with his regular buffs and the Hand of the Gods. I originally had him on foot, actually, because I figured he's still anti-large on foot, but he just becomes a little bit harder for Wolfreak or even Throg, if you come up against Throg, to beat down when he's on foot, because he gets staggered, and just makes him a little bit harder to pin down and kill. But I had, I think, 300 gold left, and rather than just spend it on a Skink or Chevrons, I decided to just put him on the cold one. So we'll get the battle underway. Obviously, I'm not going to be moving up too far, just getting in sort of position. Don't want to be a complete turtler, and moving towards getting myself in range. The Stegodon is going to open up with a few shots on Wolfreak, and I think my opponent does realise this fairly quickly after that first one hits home. So a little bit of damage as he comes in there. Obviously Wolfreak on the Mammoth, and just mammoths in general just have a massive HP pool. So as many shots as I can get in early are going to be significant. He does juke that one, as you see. And now the Bastillodons are sort of getting pulled out of position. So good play by my opponent there, just to sort of lap around and make these guys come up a little bit. I spread out a little bit. I probably didn't need to do this, but I just sort of don't usually play builds like this, and I didn't really have much to do. So obviously having to macro that Bastillodon back now, given he's been pulled out of position by Wolfreak, sort of snaking him. The Legion of Shakwa, once obviously the Marauder Hunters close, is going to have a pretty big part to play in buffing their missile resistance, because those Javelins are going to have plenty of good targets with the Bastillodon and the Stegodon. Obviously, they've got, obviously Bastillodons have massive amounts of armor, and even Stegodon's 110, but the anti-large, the dedicated anti-large, and just the amount of fire is going to be decent. Some great shots by here on the Skin Wolves, obviously being weak to fire, given they are a regenerating unit. That's an ideal target for the Skin Wolves, and they're usually a bit of a win condition for the Norskins. So as you see, the lines are closing now. The Javelins are actually going into the Temple Guard, who are bracing in the front ranks. The Cohort of Sotek are fighting Marauder Champion, so that's a pretty ideal target for them, obviously with their armor. But yeah, I'm sort of getting wrapped around here. The Skin Wolves don't really have a good avenue of attack here, because everything basically here besides the cohort is anti-large. You see Krokgar getting a Hand of the Gods into Wulfric, and my summoned Manticore is going to go jump down and just try and basically push off one of these units of Javelins. You see the Javelins here causing an absolute... yeah, this is a great combo by my opponent as well. Minus 60 from the Plague of Rust, as well as all these Javelins. This Stegodon's going to die, so great use of that spell by my opponent. In the back rank here, the Star Chamber Guardians managed to work off the Icehorn Marauders just in time as the Hounds come into the rear, so they're going to do a decent amount of damage here. I think a Final Transmutation's going down here, so another good sort of blob here for my opponent to cast into. But we have sort of tied up one unit of these Javelins. The Marauders are now coming in to attack the Feral Manticore. The Legion of Shakwa is just holding. This unit of Skinwolves has been absolutely ravaged by the Solar Engine here, and we've got another of our Feral Manticores here. I need to be a bit quicker on the draw there with my movement orders. And the Skink Priest has been able to use both his Manticore summons already, so he'll probably be looking to get some Amber Spears into Wulfric, who's really just been hunted here by Krokgar. Obviously, with his anti-large and generally better stats than Wulfric on a Mammoth, he is able to land some good punches. Doesn't want to spend too long in this fight, doesn't want to get Hunter of Champion, but there's a lot of anti-large around here, and Wulfric at the moment is under a bit of pressure. This Bastillodon's been shattered, just a ton of damage in from the Marauder Javelins, who are now starting to really take a toll, but they've done some reasonable work at putting damage into Wulfric, and they've obviously done some pretty decent work at firing at the Skin Wolves, but it's a good pickup for my opponent nonetheless. You see my line of Temple Guard here are just holding. They have great leadership, great defensive stats. I've got a couple of red-crested skinks here just basically selling their lives as dearly as they can, trying to get some damage into this unit of Javelins before they do kick the bucket. But this Bastillodon's pretty healthy, and it's going to be a pain for them to deal with in combat once the Javelins do run out of ammo. This one is rushing in now. We have a very small amount of Star Chamber Guardians coming in to buff him out. These guys, their leadership is such that they basically just fight to the death. Krokgar's a little bit isolated over here, and with obviously the Norscan Ice Wolves imparting their frostbite effect, it's probably not going to have the speed to get out of that. So the Legion of Shakwa has been peeled off from their combat to come and deal with that. But Krokgar's a bit of a beast, so he's standing up all right, and Norscan Ice Wolves are an anti-large unit, so they will suffer at the hands of Krokgar. Another Hand of the Gods going into Wulfric. He's on his last legs. Probably one more shot from the Solar Engine here, who I have got on guard mode. Might be enough to nearly kill him. 20 HP, shatters him. The last of the ammunition here on the Marauders is not going to be enough to probably take down this Bastillodon. And without any real dedicated anti-large or a big hitter like Wulfric left, this Bastillodon's going to be a bit of a terror in combat. We've got 28 Temple Guard here, 8 Star Chamber Guardians, 28 Temple Guard here. Even they're going to be tough for the Marauder Champions to get through. They just don't really have the armor piercing or the damage output, and the Temple Guard, as I said, just hold and hold and hold. And try as they might, these Wolves just aren't able to drag Krokgar down. Although I think I got a bit of friendly fire there from Krokgar, but he is stabilizing, and he has pushed these guys off once again. The Skin Wolves are going to try and come in, probably a last-ditch effort by my opponent to win this game, to try and snipe down, but another great shot going in from the Solar Engine, who's been a real MVP in this fight. And with 65 Legion of Shakwasaurus Warriors, there's and a shattered Wulfric and a shattered Leadership Core, I was able to also snipe off the caster earlier. I think Krokgar actually did venture out and snipe him. The cold-blooded phalanx of the Lizardmen does hold. So this is, I guess, a little bit of a different take on the Lizardmen box. Usually it employs a Slan or even Mazda Mundi, because obviously with a tightly packed formation, the Shield of the Old Ones and the Aura of Quetzal make it even harder to penetrate. But it worked with my own little spin on it was that basically between the 2 solar engines, the ballista on the back of the Stegodon, the Amber Spear from the Skink Priest, and even Hand of the Gods on Krokgar, it's sort of a little mobile, or not really mobile, but a little firing battery as well. It's almost like a little artillery castle that for the Lizardmen. So it was something a little bit different. I thought it probably had a good matchup against the Norscans because they tend to rely pretty heavily on Skinwolves, and Skinwolves have a lot of serious threats here. Obviously, the Bastiladons do a massive amount of damage due to their fire weakness. Temple Guard and even the Legion of Shakwa give Skinwolves fits. Hounds aren't going to really be impactful here because there's not a lot of easy targets for them. And even, I guess, Marauder Horsemen or Horsemasters, they're going to fire into a lot of either highly armored or shielded infantry. So they can sort of struggle to get value on their armor. A couple of really good plays by my opponent, though. The Shaman Sorcerer of Metal with an Overcast Plague of Rust, debuffing the armor of the Stegodon, and then, I'm actually surprised there's no chevrons on these guys. Obviously not a ton of kills, but that Stegodon got absolutely melted once the javelins got in. So that was a really nice little play. Allowed them to snipe them off. I think he might have also got a regular cast on this Bastiladon, which brought that one down pretty quickly. And obviously got one good final transmutation off as well on a bit of a blob fight. But yeah, the Lizardmen can... This is obviously... I'd say it's a fairly competitive way to play the Lizardmen. It's a little bit different to what you see, the top tier players play in tournaments. As I said, Slans are going to be probably a bit more common than Krokgar, but sort of just putting my own spin on it, and on this occasion it worked. So thanks for checking it out, and we'll be back soon with more replays. Till then, take care.